Welcome back, everybody, to another video. I know it's been a bit. It's only because the brewing I've been doing has not really been unique enough for me to call it mine. Like, I've been playing around with Apophis, I've been playing around with Gladiator Beast, I've been playing around with some other things. But, I mean, I generally get the sense of those lists from other people. Like, those have pretty standardized lists. The Gladiator Beast is obviously not as big, but I mean, you have the few regional tops that it got, and so Tri-Brigade Gladiator Beast does sort of seem to be the norm, and I'm not going to try and take credit for any of that. I will take credit for this one, because boy howdy is this one interesting, and you might, given the title and given the few cards you can see on the screen, this is probably going to be an interesting experience. I love engines. I mean, you saw my Kashtira Azamina Blue Eyes deck. I love engines. And while the Cash Azamina Blue Eyes was fun, it didn't really synergize. I mean, the Kashtira and the Azamina gave the Blue Eyes a little ceiling. It made it in another interesting way, but you couldn't go into the Blue Eyes stuff from the others, and it didn't super work well together. We gave it a bit of interesting and resilience and grind, but it didn't really need it. These ones work together in a beautiful way. It's not the most synergistic. I mean, like, if you think about Crystron, you play Kashtira and Azamina and Crystron because with 7s you make Dracosack, and that makes Cherubini, and that sends Smyger. It's not quite to that level of, like, starters, but that's because there is no mainline combo in this deck. You're really just going to play with the pieces that you have. So, with that being said, let me walk you through the deck. Let me walk you through some of the synergies, and then we'll do sort of a pseudo test hand where I show you combinations of engines and how they work together and things like that. But by the end of that, you should be able to understand what we're going for here, because you understand the theory of what these engines are trying to make up for each other. But with that being said, let's get into it. Starting with hello, Ursichthon. How are you doing? Starting with the Metalmorph cards. And our Metalmorph engine is pretty small. It is 2 Metal Illusionists. Let me make sure that's in frame. Yep, perfect. 2 Metal Illusionists, 1 Metal Zoa X, 3 Incoming Machine, 1 Max Metalmorph. Now, the reason that we are not playing full metal is in this particular version of the list, we have no other dragons. Now, obviously the idea is you normal Metal Illusionist, you set Max Metal for, you Metal Illusionist yourself into a dragon, and then you just tribute Metal Illusionist. Bing, bang, bong. You have a normal summonable, untargetable on-me negate. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. However, Metal Zoa X requires you to tribute a level 5 or higher Fiend. I wonder if there's any level 5 or higher Fiends that are pretty good. Now, wait a minute. Hang on. Let's take a look at Metal Illusionist for a second. Let's read this. Increase this card's level by 4 during your opponent's turn only. Makes sense. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Cool. If this card is a normal special summon, you can set a Metalmorph trap from your deck. Then if Max Metalmorph is in your grave, you can draw a card. You will never draw a card. We only have 1 Max Metalmorph. You can declare one other monster type. This card becomes that type until the end of your opponent's turn. And obviously the first glance is like, oh, of course. So you can change it into the type that you want. You can change it into Dragon to summon full metal off your Max Metalmorph. You can change into Fiend to summon that's off Metal Zoa X. But did you notice its attribute? This is a normal summonable value Light Fiend. Interesting. So that means what you can do is you can normal Illusionist and make Requiem. Straight off. Requiem out Lacrima, Lacrima send Engraver, you're off to the races. Now, here's the problem with that. You now no longer have a level 6 Fiend on the field for you to tribute with Max Metalmorph. You can make Necroquip and keep Necroquip, but then you didn't really use the Fiendsmith for much. You have Lacrima, obviously you have Lacrima and Requiem Engrave to do the Fiendsmith and Paradise thing on your opponent's turn. Which is okay, but we want a little more out of our engine. And so what you need is another extender. You need another body on board of any sort so that you can make Moon of the Closed Heaven into Requiem. And that's a little, obviously that doesn't take advantage of this as the Light Fiend. But there's actually 2 lines you can do, and again, I'll show you these at the end. If you use Metal Illusionist to make itself a Light Fiend and go into Requiem, you are able to go into Sequence and Desiree without using Engraver's Revive. So if they like nib you, you can revive with Engraver and still have a Fiend available for Max Metalmorph. If you have another body on board, and you want to go through Moon, you don't have to use Metal Illusionist effect. So if Metal Illusionist gets impermed, then you don't have to worry about it because you can just use it as a body to go into Moon anyway, and then you can make Caesar have access to the Lacrima Requiem to summon out an Engraver on your opponent's turn for access to the Max Metalmorph Tribute. Metal Illusionist is an incredibly flexible piece with the Fiendsmith engine, and of course, if you normal Metal Illusionist, it gets never mind. I was going to say, it can get ashed. That's right. Unfortunately, its normal summon effect can be ashed because it includes an effect to draw a card. So if you normal Metal Illusionist and they ash it, and you don't have access to Max Metalmorph, well, that's fine. You just turn into a Light Fiend to go into Fiendsmith. You can make Caesar. You don't get the Lacrima Requiem play on your opponent's turn, but you can at least normal summon make Caesar, which is pretty good. And that's off of just this card. So, the Metalmorph stuff gives you a flexibility. It also just ends on an untargetable 3400 attack Ryziel Detonator. I mean, twice per turn, obviously it only pops monsters, but like twice per turn, you can just blow up a monster your opponent controls. That's really good. Now, obviously we only have 1 Max Metalmorph, but Incoming Machine is also surprisingly good because A, it is not once per turn. You can only use this effect of Incoming Machine is on its second effect, not its first one. You can use this twice. So, for example, if you Incoming Machine normal Illusionist and they Imperm Illusionist, you can just second Incoming Machine to add the Max Metalmorph instead. Obviously, you need to find a way into a level 5 Fiend for Metal Zoa, but that's okay. Or, this adds Max Metalmorph from the graveyard. So if they blow up your Metal Zoa X, you can Incoming Machine to add the Max Metalmorph back from grave, and then you have grindability because Max Metalmorph summons the Metal Zoa X from grave as well. So you have a lot of options. This is a surprisingly grindy engine, even though it looks like it's just add Metal Illusionist, normal Illusionist, make Metal Zoa one-off. So I am quite pleased with the also, this engine, I did purchase a 3rd Metal Illusionist. I'm not playing it in this. 3 Metal Illusionist, 3 Incoming Machine, Max Metalmorph, and Metal Zoa X is like $4. This is extremely budget-friendly. The Fiendsmiths are not. We're playing sort of a budget version of the Fiendsmith engine. But the Metalmorph cards are definitely a budget option. So I've yapped about those a lot. Let's go into the other engines we're running. 3 Diabellstar, 3 Wanted, 1 Deception, 1 Hallowed, 1 Morian. And that's because a lot of people, not necessarily in the comments, but a lot of people have asked me in general, why are we playing the Murcielago line? You go Deception, you tribute Diabellstar, you make Murcielago, you add Morian, you just shuffle the Murcielago back, you Hallowed Azamina and Morian. It gives you an extra Book of Moon and a huge choke point. Because if they imperm the Murcielago and you don't have another Sinful Spoils spell, well then shoot, you don't get to the Omni Negate, you don't get to Ilia Sylvia. And so a lot of people are like, why don't you do just Ilia Sylvia? Is the extra sealing of the Book of Moon really that helpful? And in this deck, the answer is still no. We actually don't super care about the Morian. It's just an interesting thing because we get a search of the Sinful Spoils anyway. What we really care about is the free link material. Because making Murcielago and then just shuffling it back from the field with Hallowed Azamina is a waste of a body. And I just got done telling you that Metal Illusionist plus any body on field equals full Fiendsmith combo and availability to summon Metal Zoa X. And so this engine gives you access to an Omni and a free body to use to get to the Fiendsmith. Moreover, you can normal Metal Illusionist. They're like, I'm not going to import Metal Illusionist. It's just one thing. And you set Max Metalmorph. And then you go through the Azamina stuff. Well, you can make Diabellstar, tribute Diabellstar, make Murcielago, add Morian, use the Murcielago and the Metal Illusionist to make Moon, and then not do anything with the Fiendsmiths until you are then able to get your Ilia Sylvia out. And now you have insulation. And so this provides insulation, it provides the body, it really provides everything the Metalmorph engine wants, as well as draws off Wanted. The Wanted can recycle the Morian to get you more draws. Its grindability. We play Ursicthon because Ursicthon is great as a grind option going second from removal. And it just keeps adding stuff back. And especially with Ursicthon, you can add back the Hallowed Azamina to your hand without using the Azamina's effect, which means you get 2 Hallowed Azamina effects if you have the Sinful Royal spell. Very, very useful and very, very synergistic with the Metalmorph cards because it gives you insulation as you go into the Fiendsmiths. It gives you the extra body to use with the Metalmorphs. It just gives you a bunch of grind. And so we want that. We want that desperately. So we want the Azamina engine. Next up, we have the Kashtiras. We have 2 Fenrir, 2 Unicorn, 3 Rate Soth, 1 Birth. And the reason we're playing these ratios is because which Kashtira you want depends on which engines you have access to. If you have the Azamina stuff, you want to start with Fenrir because you special Fenrir, add Unicorn, send the Fenrir with Diabellstar, set Deception, tribute the Diabellstar. You now have no monsters on the field, and so you can go Unicorn, Birth, special summon the Fenrir back, or have access to the grind, and at that point you have access to both Kashtiras. If you have Metal Illusionist, you want Unicorn, because you want to get the Birth straight off so that you can use the Unicorn as a body with Metal Illusionist. And so we want the flexibility of the 3 Rate Soth rather than having more raw names. In addition, if you really just want to, if you just have a ton of material, you have a ton of things you want to do, you can send the Rate Soth with Diabellstar. That's also pretty good. So the Kashtiras just provide a bunch of grind. They give you the option of going second. You can use Fenrir. You can use Fenrir to banish something and then go into Big Eye to take something else and break boards that way. I mean, they're just big guys. Big recurring guys. Kashtira Birth on its own is a counter to Fiendsmith's Tract. Because if they activate Fiendsmith's Tract and they add Lurie and they discard Lurie, you get to chain Birth, which is great, and just banish the Lurie and the Tract and their graveyard. And so Birth is almost an interruption on its own. Just a fantastic, fantastic card. You obviously have the synergies of if you don't want to send anything and you don't have Illusionist normal summon, you can just normal summon Diabellstar with Birth. Just all around great stuff. So that is the Kashtiras. You've seen them. You love them. Quickly, we have the Fiendsmiths. We have 2 Engraver, 1 Lacrima, 1 Fiendsmith in Paradise. Now you might be saying, Cody, why are we playing 2 Engraver if we're not playing Tract? Well, the first reason is you would play Tract in this if I could afford it. But, I mean, Tract is like $70 now, and I'm kicking myself because I didn't get it when it was 7. But you can't play Tract if you can't afford it, so we're not playing Tract. I do have Sanct, but you can't play Sanct with Kashtiras because both require you to have no monsters on the field, in essence. So we are not playing that. In that case, we would normally just play 1 Engraver, 1 Lacrima, and Fiendsmith because we're accessing the Fiendsmiths through Moon, but we play 2 Engraver because our plan with the Lacrima some of the time is not to send the Fiendsmith in Paradise during our opponent's turn, but to special summon Engraver off of Requiem and not even go back into the Lacrima. Because that gives us a level 5 or higher Fiend for Max Metalmorph. And the way this combo works is your Engraver is under Caesar at the time you would like to be special summoning it, and Requiem doesn't summon from the grave, so you can't even do it after you use the Caesar to detach the Engraver, and so we need a second Engraver in deck. It's not the end of the world, because you can always, if you have the Diabellstar stuff and you have an Engraver stuck in hand, you can pitch the Engraver to add Fiendsmith in Paradise, and then just send the Fiendsmith in Paradise with Diabellstar, and then that gets it into the grave, and then you just have the other normal Fiendsmith stuff. The 2 Engraver is what we want. I would be playing 3 plus Tract plus Lurie if I had access to it. I don't, so don't yell at me. But that is all our engines. Now it's time for the non-engine. We have 3 Ash, 3 Fua, 3 Nibiru, 3 Imperm. There's an argument that Fua is no longer good enough main board, but we just thrive on having cards and material that I don't see how it's possible. I mean, if you draw a bunch of cards and you end up with a Fenrir and a Diabellstar and a Unicorn in hand, you can always just go special Unicorn at birth, normal the Fenrir, get the Diabellstar, break boards aplenty with all your cards. So we are perfectly happy to get Fuwalas in here, and, you know, Fuwalas drawing into a Nibiru is fantastic. If we can also Imperm any negates they have, this is great. If we could squeeze a few more in here, we would do it by trimming some of the Diabellstar, like maybe one Wanted or one Diabellstar, trimming one Raitsoth, and then putting in some Bestials, because then that gives us a dragon option to use with Full Metal. So then we could add Full Metal in as well and trim one of the Metal Illusionists. So there is options if you want to play it in that way, if you want to try and get up to more non-engine. But 12 is perfectly fine with us because we have a lot of going second potential. All right, that is the main deck. Let's go for the extra deck. First, the links. We have 1 Requiem, 1 Moon, 1 Sequence, 1 Agnum Day, 1 SP. Agnum Day is just good. I mean, there are some boards where you will want to make Desiree, and then tribute the Desiree. It's really fun if you can guarantee that you're not going to get impermed or nibbed, but you can go into Sequence and make Desiree and use Desiree off of Max Metamorph, and then you get Desiree's Send as well as summoning Metal Zoa X, and then Agnum Day can just obviously bring back the Desiree, and it's a good OTK option. Agnum Day is just great, and we have a little bit of extra deck space. Onto the Xyz, we have High King Caesar, Evilzar Lars, Big Eye, Typhon, Zeus. Murcielago's a 6. If for whatever reason you don't want to go into the Fiendsmiths, or you already have a way of going into the Fiendsmiths, but you find yourself maybe they bestial your Engraver, and so you're left with like a Necroquip and a Murcielago. You can just make the Murcielago and make Lars with the Necroquip and the Murcielago. There's just a couple of synergies there. We have the space. It's a useful card to go into if you just want another Towers. And the Omni is pretty good. And then finally, we have the fusions. We have Necroquip, Desiree, Murcielago, Ilias Sylvia, and Ursicthon. I really like Ursicthon. I think he's just solid going second because he is removal. He adds back Hallowed Azamina for double activations on the next turn because it's during the standby phase. Just useful. I really quite like Ursicthon, and he's pretty big. All right, but that is the extra deck. Now, let me show you some of the combos of depending on what your... I spoke about them, and you can probably intuit them, but let's show off some of the combos depending on the engines you start with. So let's assume that you start with Incoming Machine, Wanted, and some card to discard. Right? So with that hand, let's get all my cards over here. Let's get settled here. Come on, Cody. So with that hand, you would go Incoming Machine, Chain Wanted to add 2. So you would add your Diabellstar, and you would add your Metal Illusionist. You would normal your Metal Illusionist. You would set your Max Metalmorph. And then you would Diabellstar, pitching your card. Diabellstar set Deception. Deception tribute Diabellstar to add Hallowed. You would Hallowed, revealing Murcielago. Murcielago add Morian. And then from here you would link these two off into Moon, and you would not continue with the Fiendsmiths in this instance, because what you're going to do instead is you're going to Hallowed Azamina to put Murcielago back, and then Hallowed Azamina away your Morian for Ilias Sylvia. So now you have the Omni available before you go into your Fiendsmiths. And then you can just go reset the Morian. Here, I'll keep the spell traps face up so you know which one's which. And then you would go Fiendsmith line. You've seen this a dozen times before, but let's do it. Moon into Requiem, Requiem into Lacrima. Lacrima dump Engraver. Requiem equip. Lacrima and Requiem for Necroquip. Engraver shuffle Moon back to special Engraver. Make Caesar. Whoops. Sorry, camera. Make Caesar. And then you would, you pass, end step. Deception comes back. Okay, so that's what you do. You have some solid layered interaction. You have your Omni, you have your double spell trap negate. During your opponent's draw phase, you're going to go Lacrima effect to bring back Requiem. And then Requiem effect to special summon not the Lacrima you just sent. You're going to special summon Engraver because now you have a level 5 or higher Fiend. And you are going to, whenever you want, you're going to activate Max Metalmorph. You're going to tribute your Engraver. And you're going to special summon your Metal Zoa X. And now you have double pop. He's 3,400. He is not targetable by monster or spell and can't be destroyed by monster and spell effects. They need Typhon to go after him. But you can always book the Typhon with Morian. I mean, this is just so much. And then, of course, you know, if they break this, you still have Deception. You still have Fiendsmiths. If you draw, let's say you draw, let's say you draw Incoming Machine, you can just Incoming Machine to get back the Max Metalmorph. Lots of good stuff here. So that's what's happened. That's what happens if you draw, you know, if you have any line, you know, if you have the Diabellstar stuff with the Metalmorph stuff. So now let's do a quick test hand, because I know you all love a test hand. Test hands are your favorite. I know what you like. So let's get some shuffling. There is a version, depending, I might make it depending on how expensive the cards end up being when they come out, but with the Regenesis cards fit really well into the Kashtira, Azamina, Fiendsmith shell. I mean, Diabellstar's 25, Unicorn's 25. You just have the right stat line to be able to run Archfiend, Regenesis Archfiend. It is a little hard with Unicorn because you want to special summon the Unicorn to get the Archfiend before you special summon the Archfiend, but then you can't. But it's not too bad at that point. Also, the Kashtira Birth can let you normal summon some of the Regenesises if you have the wrong stat line. So, like, if you draw Fenrir and Birth and, like, Regenesis Warrior, you don't have the right stat line because Kashtira will add Unicorn, but then if you normal the Unicorn... I guess, never mind. In that instance, you can normal Unicorn, special summon Warrior. Maybe in the grind game, I don't know. Maybe in the grind game you can't special summon it, but, you know, there's some things there. Okay, so we got our deck. Let's cut. Let's deal out. We have Incoming Machine, Foolos, Metal Zoa X, Foolos, Nibiru. Okay, so this isn't a very good hand. Let's take those three. Well, I mean, it's a perfectly fine hand, especially going second. You just go double Foolos, Nib, but let's do it. Okay, there we go. Diabellstar, Fiendsmith in Paradise. Okay, this one's pretty good. You know, you can, let's say you Metal Illusionist, they Imperm Metal Illusionist. Okay, in that case, you just go Incoming Machine, add Max Metalmorph anyway, and then you set the Max Metalmorph. Obviously, you can't make this a light Fiend, but that's okay because we got the Diabellstar. You Diabellstar, you send the Fiendsmith in Paradise, so it's not that much of a Garnet, and then you just go through. So, you know, that's what we're looking for. Let's do one more. It's nice because if you draw any special summon, your Foolos also can just go into Fiendsmiths. So it's like if you start with 4 hand traps, let's say you start with Ash, Nibiru, Imperm, Unicorn, Foolos. You can special the Unicorn, add Birth, normal Foolos, go into Fiendsmith. The Fiendsmiths really are just so strong because it means drawing 1 engine is actually means you draw 2. So you basically start with access to 1 engine at all times because it's through the extra deck. We have Lacrima, Metal Illusionist, Diabellstar, Hallowed, Engraver. This is just fine. Obviously, we're not great, but that means that if they Ash Hallowed Azamina, you're not boned, so you would pitch the Engraver in this instance to draw, to add the In Paradise, send In Paradise with Diabellstar, normal Metal Illusionist, bing, bang, bong. So you have a lot of flexibility. You know, if you're going second, you can send the Fiendsmith in Paradise if they have any sort of quick effect. Especially, you can go normal Metal Illusionist to set Max Metalmorph. But then you can, you know, Diabellstar to try and go through the Diabellstar stuff. If they negate it, you know, then you can just go into your Fiendsmith stuff. Lots and lots of options. You can use the Diabellstar stuff to go into Ursicthon to break their board. Lots and lots of good options here. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I am a big fan of this deck. Is it great? No, Probably not. The aim of this channel is never to give you the strongest, most competitive YCS deck, YCS level deck. Is it fun? Absolutely. It is fun trying to find how your cards interact with each other. It is fun trying to figure out where to go with your engines, what you have available to you. Part of the real joy of this deck is you have so many options available to you that you just get to pivot into whatever you need whenever you need it. And that's the real draw. So it's not the most expensive. Obviously, Requiem and Lacrima are going to set you back about $60, but otherwise the rest of the Fiendsmith engine is pennies. And so $60 for an engine is really not terrible at all. I mean, the engravers are like $1. And so you can get the whole Fiendsmith portion of this for less than $75, which is, about as expensive as the Kashtira stuff is. Deception is still around, so you could make this whole deck for probably around $150 and have a solid deck. I mean, the most expensive card besides that is the 3 Fuwa losses, and that's, it's still a possibility for some of you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to know your thoughts on this. I hope you try this out and have some fun with it, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.